Welcome to the Rove podcast, where we are doing something special this season for Emirati Women's Day. We are joined by so many wonderful women who have such great stories to share, and hopefully it will help you along your journey in some sort of way. In this episode, I'm very, very excited to have Zainab Al Sawalhi. I hope I've said that right.
Yes,
she is the inspiration behind the Picture Happiness Project, which sees her spreading absolute compassion and inspiring kindness to strangers. And you continue to push this kind culture through your content online and the community that you've created. Zainab, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, you did say my name correctly.
Amazing. We're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Zainab, I mean, there is so much to talk about. I haven't met you before. This is the first time, but I've seen your stuff online, and I'm sure it's just a 5% reflection of who you truly are. So it's great to have this conversation with you. First of all, I'd like to take you back. We will get into what you do now, but I'd love to take you back to, what did you want to be as a child? Like, what was the dream? Everyone grows up, they're like, I want to be a ballerina, I want to be a footballer. What were you thinking when you were a kid?
I actually wanted to be a teacher because I love children. And I thought that was the way to be around children. So the dream was to be a teacher. Obviously, that changed throughout the time.
And so with the teaching, did that come from because maybe your parents were, or did you have anyone in your family that kind of inspired you?
Well, my grandfather was a teacher, and then he did join the Ministry of Education. But I loved teaching. I loved school. I you can say that I'm a nerd, right? So I used to take the homework and actually pretend to my imaginary classroom that I'm giving them the lesson and giving them the homework that I'm actually solving for myself, So that's where it basically started. And obviously the love for children made it the dream.
Yeah, well, you sound like the dream kid. If I was to have a kid one day, I want them to be like you, to be honest. So talk me through education, through school. As a kid, what was your actual persona like? Like, at school, you wanted to be a teacher, but as an individual, what were you like? What was your personality like?
I was actually very shy at some point, was very quiet. And then towards high school, I don't know what happened, but I gained so much confidence and I felt like I wanted to do so much more and make a difference. So I used to be taking initiatives in my classroom, like whenever there is any sort of campaigns, collaborations with other classrooms, like I would be like the first one to raise my hand, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to be part of this, I want to be the leader, basically. And then I joined the humanitarian club, which is where my passion for helping out and making a difference basically started.
And you absolutely went on to do that, which we will get to. I feel like during those teen years, university, it's so pivotal, monumental, especially for young females. I was a mute when I was younger. I didn't speak to people until I was like 18 years old, which is ironic to what I do now. But for you said that confidence, it just came from nowhere. Is there a moment that you remember? Is there people notice that all of a sudden Zainab is talking more, she's walking around with more confidence? Is it something that you were very aware of?
I'm not sure exactly if there's a moment, but I was just tired of being the shy, quiet kid in a way, Something inside of me was just like screaming, like, just go for it, do this, become this. And it just happened. And I think it's because of my friends, my classmates, my principal. They were the ones that were pushing me. So it kind of like helped ease the way for me, to be that kind of person.
And that's so important, isn't it? The people that you surround yourselves with.
100%. I mean, once you get that support, everything becomes easier and better.
And I'm so aware that so many people listening right now, maybe envious of us that we had the family around us that, thought that we could conquer anything and we could do anything. Because I know a lot of people don't have that. For you, were there any key members that really, really were behind you?
Well, I actually come from a divorced family, so the quiet and the shy was basically from it. But I would say definitely it was my dad who did somehow support and encourage and pushed me to be who I am today.
And it's interesting though, because there's such a stereotype as well, especially within certain cultures, that, you know, girls, young females, they're just led to do certain things in life. This is what you should be doing. You know, especially in my culture, it's, oh, you're with your mum and dad, you then move to marry your husband, and then he looks after you. What was it like for you?
From a certain angle, that was the case. I mean, I was, I was put on for an arranged marriage exactly the age, exactly when I turned 18. I was like pushed for an arranged marriage. So there is that kind of thinking in my family, but university education always came first.
That's good. That's a positive, because a lot of people don't have that either. And when, I guess what you did was you went against the norm, right? You fought the stereotype.
Yeah.
How challenging was that time?
Very challenging. I was the alien in my family, you know, the person that's just doing everything different, and kind of like the difficult child in a way, because I was stubborn. I wanted to do what I believed, you know. Even my thinking was so different than my family. And again, I was the first child. Well, not the first child. I'm the second child, but the first daughter. And I'm very different than my brother. So I was the first one that would do everything different. And that was difficult for my parents to grasp and basically accept.
Yeah. But did you yourself, it's so tough, isn't it? Because at the time you think you are the issue. It actually convinces you that you are the problem.
Yeah. I was having like non-stop fights and arguments with my parents, and I was just trying for them to understand where it was coming from. But it was challenging, and it made me feel like I was the issue. Like I was the daughter that was doing something wrong over here, you know, even though it was just a very different type of thinking. That was it.
And I feel like also the maybe school system generally, I think globally, it is built against those who aren't also incredibly academic or that are thinking out of the box, you know. Did you feel that? Especially, I know with university, you and I hate to say this now because it's so normal, but back then you went against the norm, so to say.
That's true. I majored in interior design. And I mean, my father wanted me to be either an architect, a doctor, an engineer, and I was just like, this is not my field. This is not what's speaking to me, and I personally don't want to be any of those things, you know. And I had to actually fight through majoring in interior design, because for my siblings, it was kind of like set for them. She's going to be an engineer. She's going to be a doctor. She's going to be an engineer. I mean, I have 3 sisters and a brother, and it was everything was set for them, you know. And I was the one that was like against it, and I decided to go for something completely different. And back in the day, interior design was defined as an interior decorator. So like, what are you going to be doing? Basically decorating people's houses, painting, you know what I mean? Like the understanding of what an interior design was misunderstood. So they basically were telling me that I will not have a future, I will not be making an income, it's not a job, it's not a career, and I'll be just decorating people's houses, you know, underestimating the importance of interior design. Basically, they're interior architects, if you want to think about it, you know. But I just felt like I needed to do my thing, and it was my life, you know. So I went for it. You did
go for it. Did you have moments where you were like, hang on, why does my brother have it so easy in comparison to me?
Oh, all the time. All the time, until today. Things come to me in a very challenging and hard way, and I have to really work for it, like really, really work for it. While I see some of my siblings having it like so easy, especially now that I'm seeing my parents so fine with what my siblings are choosing to do, and I'm just like, where were you 10 years ago? You were arguing with me nonstop. So yeah.
Do you ever have, resentment's a very strong word, but do you ever have these kind of conversations still to this day with your parents? Because I still do. I still have these like, you should have supported me when I needed the support, because I feel like, does that ever leave you, that feeling?
I did at some point, but I do feel grateful for everything that has happened, because if it wasn't for my past, my childhood, all the arguments and fights with my parents, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. So I'm trying. I keep on trying to think of it in a very in a different perspective. Finding gratitude behind things.
And I gave you an introduction at the beginning of this, but I feel like introductions are really hard to do. You look at people's like Instagram bio, their LinkedIn, it's just like 3 or 4 words. It doesn't really define us. So I'd love to ask you the question, if you were to introduce yourself, how would you describe your role, who you are, and what you do?
It's actually very difficult when someone tells us, like, "Can you introduce yourself?" I'm just like blank. I have nothing to say. But I would definitely say that I'm the person, or I'm Zainab, that's trying every day to make a difference. And not necessarily like big difference, because I don't only believe in that, but I believe that small little acts of kindness can make a huge difference in this world, and it's actually what we need more than a big act of kindness or money related or anything. I think that's about it.
Well,
as a person, that's how I would define myself to others.
And the thing is, even when you say that and you say, I think that's it, you make it sound so small, but it's such a big thing, and that most people don't even think like this.
That's true. Yeah, because it's very difficult. Honestly, one of the hardest questions I would ever get is about basically define who you are. It's very difficult to really tell people who you are. You know what I mean? Like, you need to see me on a daily basis, live with me, in order for you to actually know who I am, because I barely know who I am. It takes us years to figure out who we are and discover ourselves.
And I think as kids, we think that, by the age of 21 we'll know. And now, I mean, I'm at the age of 31 and I'm like, I still have no idea who I am, where I am, what I'm doing.
I'm turning 29 and I still don't know.
I'm like, will that day ever come?
I'm still figuring it out. I think no. We're a work in progress, and with time and hardships we change. So I don't think I think we'll know the foundation of who we are, but not everything about ourselves, because we're still living.
Still living and still learning every single day.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Picture Happiness Project.
Sure.
This is just incredible. When I heard about it and I saw everything that everyone had written about it, the social media posts, it was just beautiful. It was a movement of love. So first of all, for those listening that haven't heard about it, could you tell us what it is?
So Picture Happiness, or the initiative behind Picture Happiness?
Well, how did it all start? Were you just sitting there one day and, the whole notion behind it, was it just something that you just did it on a whim? Was it something that you sat and thought about? Because it progressed, didn't it, as it went along?
Yeah, it did. So the initiative is actually called Ticket of Happiness, and it started when I was having a walk with my husband now. We were having a walk on the public beach, basically, and I was looking towards the parking lot, and I was seeing the RTA the RTA guy, I guess, going around and checking people's tickets, if they've actually paid for the parking or not. And some of them didn't actually pay, or they forgot. Things happen, and he was giving them a fine. And I was just telling my husband, I was like, why instead of giving a fine immediately, why don't we just give them a nice note telling them, I understand you might have forgotten, maybe you've ran out of credits back in the day, or anything could have happened. I mean, we're human beings at the end of the day, right? We don't mean to skip payment. It was just a thought in my head, and that was basically it. I went back home, and I was just like telling my husband, I was like, you know what? Why am I going to wait for others to do something when I can actually be the one to make that change? So I remember I went to Creative Minds, and I bought these empty cards, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start it. So I'm just going to leave really nice, uplifting messages, and I'm going to leave them on people's cards. And I hope that it could actually make a difference in a way, because I was so scared that when people see them, they'll just throw them on the road, or it won't really make a difference. It won't really make their day, you know? And I was just writing personal messages. So these messages are directed to you to make you feel like it was meant for you, or it was written just for you, you know? And I don't know how, but from the first day, I received positive, it was a positive turnout, basically. And people were reaching out to me and telling me about how this message really, like, it was for whatever they were going through. And I was like, how? Because I don't even remember these messages. Like, I was writing so many different messages, and I was just leaving them randomly on people's cars. So I didn't know what was happening to this person, you know, when I left this note. But it was a positive turnout, and even though a bit of me was scared from seeing someone throw it, because, you know, we always have these kind of fear inside of us, right? But I just continued, and from a very simple plain card, I actually printed a ticket in a form of an RTA fine ticket, basically. And that's why a lot of people, when they see it from a distance, they actually think that they got a fine.
They're panicking.
But the moment they get closer to the car, they see it's a ticket of happiness, you know, something to motivate you, to inspire you, to uplift you, to show kindness to you, because we kind of need that. Especially in this challenging time that we're living in.
And what you did was just beautiful. I can only imagine the impact that you had, and you really don't know what people are going through, essentially.
Exactly.
I mean, you're passing them on the street. This is why I think it's so important. Little things like just smiling at people, walking into a shop, walking into a restaurant, a waiter, a waitress, hi, how are you? These little things matter, right?
It does. And sometimes we need that voice. You know, we feel like we're alone, nobody's getting us. We just want that person to let us know that we're here. You know, you're not alone. And that note somehow made it happen. Like, it signified, you know, the fact that there's someone out there that's looking out for you, or that cares about you, and just wants to let you know that you're not alone, you know?
And let's talk about that fear that you were feeling, because, you know, everyone has great ideas. You know, there's this rush of kids wanting to be entrepreneurs nowadays, and, you know, so many beautiful, great ways that the world is evolving and developing. But there's always the ideas, but no one really, they don't execute as much because of the fear of failure, or the fear of what will people say, what will people think. How did you overcome that? What were the thoughts going through your head?
Anything out of your comfort zone will bring fear, right? So the way I did it was just rushing towards the car, putting the note, and then rushing out of sight, basically. So, like, no one gets to see me, and I don't get to see anyone's reaction, because I was really afraid of, you know, seeing them throw it, or seeing them not care about it, or what would they say or think or do with it, basically. But I kept on reminding myself that I'm doing this for society, and in a way for me, because it was a form of healing. You know, I was writing these kind notes, and I realized that I was writing it for myself at the same time. And writing is a form of healing, therapy, right? When you journal, basically. So I kept on reminding myself why I was doing this, what was the purpose behind it, and why should I continue it, you know? And I blocked any kind of noise that was signaling fear or negativity out of my mind. So from there, I just continued, and basically rushed out.
You were like a happiness ninja. You
basically,
were
like, you were out. Yeah, but at some point, I did stay, and I was looking at the cars, and I would find people taking the card and, you know, looking at it very confused, and then they would turn it to where the message is, and there's that big smile on their face, and then they go into the car and they actually hang it. So they keep it as like a ticket that they can always go to whenever they're facing something, you know, they're going through something, they're feeling down. So that just motivated me to continue. The fact that I saw one or two was enough for me to continue.
And also, like, kind of, I guess, hope you create this little happiness army, this happiness community that
That's true.
if they see it, they would even pass the note on or write their own and leave it with
Yeah.
people. So how did the project then, you know, excel, I guess? Where did it go? What kind of ideas did it inspire? What kind of community did it inspire around you?
Actually, many people reached out that they wanted some of the tickets because they wanted to write the notes themselves. Others wanted to spread it in their city. So I had so many people come and take it to you know, put it in cars in Sharjah and Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah. Many of them even took it to their own country, you know. So that was something, you know, inspiring for me, but I always wanted to keep it as simple as possible and not really take it, I would say, to corporate or, you know, because the meaning of it would somehow fade away.
Yeah.
You know, so for now, I'm just doing it myself.
What little things do you do, like in your daily practice, to kind of, you know, gratitude, I feel, has become such a buzzword nowadays. People just use it quite recklessly, I think. But you seem someone who practices it religiously. Could you share with us what kind of daily things you may do, you know, whether it's a journal, whether it's moments meditation, whatever it may be that people then can maybe do themselves?
I'm not gonna say I'm perfect at meditating because I do it, but not religiously. Like, I don't do it every single day. I do it whenever I feel like I need to breathe. There are days where I just take a moment for myself, and lately I've liked being by myself, like just with myself, basically listening to my own thoughts, because with this busy life that we're going through, sometimes you don't realize what you're thinking, whether it's negative thoughts, positive thoughts, you know, fear. So it's really important to be around yourself. I feel like we're always running away from that, right? We don't want to face whatever the truth is. Something else that I do are the small little acts of kindness. So I've made it like a habit that when I see anybody, I would greet them with, "Hi, how are you?" It makes a huge difference, that "how are you," you know? Smiling, also petrol stations, especially with the beautiful weather of ours nowadays, to leave the car and buy some cold refreshments for the employees there. I know it's something very small, but it does make a huge difference to them that someone actually saw them and appreciates what they're doing. For us, it's not easy. I mean, everywhere else in the world, you go do it yourself, right? But here in this beautiful country, we actually have so much, you know, to be grateful for, and so much privilege. You know, we have people that actually do it for us instead of us doing it on our own. So, to them, it might be not just simple cold refreshments. To them, it's someone that respects them, appreciates them, and actually sees them. They feel like they're seen. So these are the little things that I do, but I'm not gonna be like fake and say like, "Oh, I do meditation every single day." No, I don't. Journaling I do whenever I feel there is a lot inside of me. So it's basically, I listen to myself and I give myself whatever that it needs in the moment, you know? So these are the two things I would say.
Now, I love that you said that you are so at peace with being alone, because a lot of us struggle with that, you know? I, for one, cannot even go to a coffee shop and sit there and have a coffee on my own. It is one of my biggest fears, and my husband keeps pushing me to do it. I know I need to, but, you know, I do feel like the relationships don't define you, but they help carve you. Sure. I think. You know, for you, although you love your time alone, how important is it for people listening to speak about their truth or whatever they're feeling, whatever they're going through? Because I know a lot of people within many different cultures tend to hold it in.
You mean towards a professional, like a therapist or life coach, or anyone?
Professional, family, friend. How
it's
can
very,
they do that? Yeah.
It's very, very important to be honest, because we're human beings at the end of the day, and I don't see us acting like human beings. We're being so tough on ourselves, as if we can hold so much in and continue living, you know? It's important to talk to someone, anyone, like you said, it could be a family member, it could be a professional, as long as you can trust them, as long as they can listen and hear you out. It's very important that you find someone that listens to you, right? But it does magic. It really does. You feel so much lighter, you feel happier, you feel like someone was able to listen to you, and you're not carrying it all on your own. You know, you're not walking in this like on earth by yourself. There are many people that actually love you and support you. So it's one of the healing or therapy, basically, forms of therapy to talk to someone. We're just not acting as human beings anymore.
No, we're not. And what I think there's a shift that's happened, I think, within genders. You know, they speak now about, you know, toxic masculinity, and you know, now they're talking to males to be a lot more softer in an emotional way, and now women, I think, are expected to be way stronger.
Yes.
So it's like we're constantly fighting this constant battle. I want to ask you, seeing as we are celebrating Emirati Women's Day, you know, how has your community here within the UAE and Dubai, you think, really evolved into helping you become the strong female that you are?
I mean, the fact that they know that we are a vital, you know, we play a vital role in this community, in the society, made everything easier for us, knowing that our country supports women and they understand everything that we're going through. I mean, we're not just women, we're you know, we're everything. We're housewives, we're mothers, we're daughters, we're sisters, we're career, advocates. We're so much more than just a woman. And ever since I was born, I was given that support from this beautiful community. And I think that, I had an idea and it just went away.
Take your time, it's okay.
And I think if it wasn't for our leaders basically, showcasing that for us, we wouldn't have had that support from the community itself. So it all goes back to our leaders.
Absolutely. And lastly, boys, girls, adult men and women listening right now, advice, guidance for them to, because I feel like you're truly living your truth. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to see, even though I barely know you, just sitting here with you for half an hour, I can feel it in your energy. A lot of people yearn for that. Any advice for people who do feel like they're doing what you did, which was go against the grain and fight a stereotype? Do you have any advice for them?
Like I tell my online family, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, you're not disrespecting yourself or others, you do you. Do what makes you happy, do what makes you at peace, because guess what? Life is short and we're not here to please others. We're here to please ourselves and really, live our purpose. We all have a purpose in this world. Every single person, matters and is important, and their existence actually matters. Everyone has a purpose. So just you do you, as long as, you're doing it for yourself and you're not hurting or disrespecting yourself or others. Just you do you. That's like the biggest advice I would tell anyone.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that is a beautiful note to end on. Zainab, I want to thank you so much for making the time to sit with us here today. Happy Emirati Women's Day. We celebrate you today and every day.
We celebrate women today and every day.
Thank you.